Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Scorpio for October 2015. Check out my website, aspiritualspark.com, where you can see more about my current offerings, and you can become part of my VIP crew, my email community, by signing up for my free email newsletter. You get all kinds of instant perks and goodies in the future, including a monthly write-up for the astrological month ahead. So what do we have going on this month? We have all kinds of things we're going to talk about specific to Scorpio. We have some general transits that are going to affect you. And we have your birthdays, some of your birthdays, and the rest of you are going to not be far behind. So you want to pay attention during this birthday discussion, even if you're not an October-born Scorpio. Many things in life that we have come to accept as truth or that are traditions or just things that people believe in or sayings are actually astrologically based. One of those things is birthday wishes. Birthday wishes come from the fact that the sun represents what we want, our desires, our creative expression, what lights us on fire, really. And when the sun in the sky gets back to the same point in the chart as it was when you were born, the universe is never more receptive to your wishes at that time, and that's where birthday wishes come from. So make your birthday wishes. I have always used 10 birthday wishes. I don't know the significance of that number for that, but 10 birthday wishes, you write them down, you say them out loud, and most importantly, you feel them as if they're coming true. This is one of the major keys to manifesting. If you study the works of people who teach about manifesting, you will see consistently that this idea of feeling something as if it's true already before it's true helps to make it true. And when you do your birthday wishes, you can really amp them up and ramp up the time frame of bringing that goodness into your life by feeling them as if they're true. So do your birthday wishes. That's the moral of the story. Now the 4 weeks before your actual birthday, and this is going to be a different time table for each of you depending on when your birthday is, but you can just look in the calendar and look at 4 weeks before. And sensitive people might start to feel this a little bit earlier. I always start to feel this probably about 6 weeks or so beforehand. When the sun goes into your solar 12th house, as it does before your birthday, the month before your birthday, it lights up this very deep unconscious space of the 12th house. And it's like putting a light in an attic that is neglected for a long period of time. You're going to find some treasures in there, things that you were either looking for or things from your family or people who lived in the house before, something worth something to you, something of value. And you're also going to find nasty things that are in the attic, and there's dust and there's fiberglass, which is super itchy, and there's, just all kinds of things that when you turn the light on in a dark space that has been neglected or not focused on for a long time, you're going to get this range of things that you're going to find there. And that's what this period of time before your birthday is like, because the 12th house is like the attic of your being. It's the place where things kind of go to be forgotten, and some of those things you don't want to remember. So when you've got this bright light in a place where you've kind of just put things away to not deal with, it can get really uncomfortable. I did astrology for a really long time before I caught on to this. And at some point I noticed, well, gosh, something weird happens, or big things come up, or I always feel kind of crappy in November because my birthday's in December. And I'm like, what is up with that? There's got to be something to it. And then I figured it out one day. The sun is in my 12th house, and it's bringing up these things to be dealt with, things that I don't want to look at. And it's very uncomfortable, even for the person who's seeking them, like I became, it still feels a little weird. So hopefully this can solve a mystery for some of you. I know Scorpios love mysteries and solving mysteries. So if you've noticed that you feel weird before your birthday, then this is why. So if you're feeling weird, then also know that this is something that, if it's related to this transit, it's going to pass. This transit, before the sun crosses over your solar first house cusp, is purposeful. All of the transits that happen in astrology, from my perspective, are purposeful. So when you have your birthday, you have your wishes, you have your rebirth. You want to get really clear on the things you don't want. You want to go looking for the things that have gone awry or the directions of things that's not where you want to go. And to do that, you've got to put the light on in the attic so that it helps you be better equipped to ask for, to figure out what they are and to ask for the things that you want. So look at it as a very productive option or opportunity for you to create more of the things that you want. Okay, so let's talk about where there are giant clusters of energy specifically for Scorpio. We do have some general transits in the aftermath of the eclipses. We've got Venus retrograde, shadow stuff, Mercury retrograde, all of that to talk about. Those are general transits. But specific to Scorpio, we've got this huge cluster either in the 11th house or in the 10th house, depending on where your Scorpio placement is. So the earlier degree placements, so that's most of your birthdays who are the October born Scorpios and into the first week of November. Some of you kind of on the line there, several days into November, you might be in the middle category for a bit. You know, it's hard to tell exactly. It's going to be different for everyone's placement. And if your rising sign is at an early degree, or your birthday's in that October born, early November, then you have this giant cluster in your 11th house. And we're going to talk about that. For the rest of you who don't have the giant cluster in your 11th house, definitely pay attention still, because what I'm about to describe is getting ready to happen for you. It's staggered. You know, I've put a lot of effort into trying to help you understand why someone in the same sun sign or in the same rising sign can have such a different experience of timing as far as the astrological transits. It's because it's different depending on where you're at. It's kind of like, I have different analogies for this, but this month what I've been thinking about is the energy of a didgeridoo, we'll say a didgeridoo group healing. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard or been able to be in the fortunate position of having a didgeridoo healing, but there is a powerful, crazy instrument. And it's like long if you haven't seen it, and it's, you know, you have to get this certain type of breath pattern to even make any sound, and then managing it anyway, it's a big deal. But so if you, usually what I have seen in one of these healings is the didgeridoo, the person playing the didgeridoo is playing it in the room, okay, at first. And then so everybody in the room is feeling that, okay? And that's what these upcoming transits are like. It's like, to some degree, each of the Scorpio energies are feeling the things that are present or about to come very close. You're feeling it. But the early degree placements are like the first ones in line in the circle to get the didgeridoo swept over their individual energy fields. So if you're like in the next group, middle or like late, the last group, you're feeling the energy. Things are brewing. Maybe some things are coming up, but it's nowhere near as intense or relevant as for the person who has the didgeridoo moving across their field or the person just immediately next to them. And then once the didgeridoo player moves down, then the person who's in the first position, that the energy of that particular focus is kind of starting to wear off some into more general. Okay, so that's what it's like. So all of these placements in the 11th house, for the early placements, you middle to later degree placements are still having this tremendous focus in the 10th house. So we're going to talk about what that looks like for both of the segments here, okay? But like I said, everyone pay very close attention for this 11th house, because if you're not experiencing it in October, it's going to be coming soon and it will be staggered depending on your placement. So the 11th house rules many things. It's the house of Aquarius, and it rules groups and teams and humanitarian efforts, things for the community, things for the greater good. It rules working with organizations, like large organizations. It also rules the social scene, so social media, social things in person, you know, things where there's groups or social things that are involved, acquaintances. It's also the house of your biggest dreams. Now, aren't the dreams that you have at night. That's the 12th house. The 11th house are the dreams that are like, wow, those are really big dreams. Like if someone asked you, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, that might be a dream. But then like, what do you really, 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 really want to do? Those are your big dreams. And those are housed energetically in the 11th house. So when you have personal planets, the slow or the faster moving planets in the 11th house, it brings a lot more activity to all the things that I just mentioned. So the earlier degree placements have both short-term and long-term focus on this house, because you've got Mercury and the Sun, and for many of you the new moon, and Venus and Mars, if not there, then there soon in this 11th house. That's all the personal planets moving and being active in this house, bringing all different levels of experience to all those things, 11th house. But they're shorter lived. You know, they pass over a few weeks or a couple of months for, Mars. But a longer term trend has been started with Jupiter getting to the 11th house. And Jupiter is the great expander, the bringer of luck, the bringer of opportunities, the bringer of fortune, and the ruler of having as many diverse focuses as possible. Focuses. Anyway, many areas of focus in that field of experience. So Jupiter wants to play it big, but also wants to get involved in a lot of little things. So if you have things team or group related or organization related or community good related or social sector or internet related, by the way, the 11th house also rules the internet and any ventures in the internet, involved with the internet. Any of these things, when Jupiter's there, it's not really the time to just do one of those things. It's the time to plant as many seeds as possible, because all the seeds that you plant when Jupiter makes its year-long transit through that area, those plants or seeds can sprout anytime over the next 12 years. So you want to just be like you want to be like Johnny Appleseed, crossing over the continent, just like planting seeds like crazy. And who knows when those seeds are going to grow, or if they will, but planting as many seeds as possible. So that's the energy of the 11th house. And among those things is your big dreams. Like, what do you really want to do? For the rest of you, this is coming in short-term transit into the rest of fall, and in long-term transit. Some of you will experience this towards the end of the year. The rest of you will experience this into next year, and you later placements are going to experience this well into next year, as far as Jupiter being there. So for all of you, there's some level of present or coming focus on, your big dreams and working in groups and internet-related things. So a very important question to ask. There's a couple of really important questions to ask. In general, these kind of questions really supersede all astrology, but specific to the activity in your personal charts, one question to ask is, what are your big dreams? And what can you do to start planting seeds for those big dreams? The second question to ask, and this also has to do with your career, because the 10th house, where the rest of the activity is for you middle to later degree placements, all of those planets are in the 10th house. So the 10th house rules career and work and life purpose. So there's a tremendous amount of energy on, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What about your work? Do you like what you're doing? How are you making money? All of these kind of questions. So the question that supersedes both of these houses is, are you stuck in the trap of, I will be happy when ... And I promise you that this question, this trap, I will be happy when, is absolutely a trap. And you never become happy when you follow the, I will be happy when. I just have to get my finances in order. I just have to get my relationship situated. I just have to get this project done. I just. If you're finding yourself saying, I just have to do this and then I'll be happy, then you can say that you're not ever going to be happy, because this is the trap of the ego. So right now, with the support that you have in your chart, especially in the short and long term, you can ask a different question. How can I be happy now? Make the choice to be happy now. Don't put off being happy, because when you make the choice to be happy now, then you're always happy no matter what. And I really got this lesson really well drilled in an experience that I had starting about 5 or so years ago. I can't remember all the numbers right now. Years blend together, but a good bit of time ago, I had what I call the downfall of my empire. I built this massive financial empire in my 20s. I don't know, I always forget who I say what to, so just a general summary of that. I did what my parents told me to do. I did well in school. I skipped grades. I, did everything that I could, got on every honor roll and graduated from college and got a good job, because that's what they told me to do and that's what I did. Only to figure out, I don't really like working for people, and oh my gosh, the job I got into is not really what I'm supposed to be doing, So then I had to figure out, how am I going to get out of this job? And I created this business that worked out really well, and it started to allow me to do what I wanted to do, which was to help people with things like astrology and to write books and blogs and to educate people and expand people's consciousness. So I started doing that. From this successful business, I was able to not have to worry about making money from those ventures. But then when the market crashed around 2008, and it started a little bit before, but really then into 2009, all of those things that I created fell out from under me. Many people have had that experience, but personally, part of that was because I built them on false pretenses. The pretense that when I create these things, I'm going to be happy, and these things are going to make me happy. I hadn't learned the spiritual lesson. You've got to be happy where you're at. And that's when it really came screaming from the universe at that time. Like, okay, so I was breaking up from my relationship with a person with whom I had a child. So dashed to the rocks was my idea of staying together with my child's father, and not having a step family, which was important to me because I had a step, whatever, these things that we have that are ideas of what's going to make us happy. Just dashed, my home that I loved and put so much into, gone. I was super sick. I had no money. Everything went away. I had fibromyalgia, and just like name it. I was like, if there were an excuse to build a case for suckiness, I really had that, the victim, the, hey, wow, this is really bad. And Spirit spoke to me so loudly, you have to choose to be happy now. You have to choose to be happy now. And when you do that, you're always going to be happy, regardless of what happens, because you're creating that, you're building that within yourself. So I created this game. What is great about this? I like to play spiritual games with myself, and now I'm sharing them with you, to help to really strongly imprint the lessons that Spirit is whispering and yelling to me. So if you do this game, if you play this game, what is great about now, regardless of your circumstances, you're going to build this amazing life. And recently, because my circumstances are very different now than they were 5 years ago, and most of the things, or all of the things really, that I had a problem with at that point are not a problem for me at this point. Part of that is because I played this game as my life practice. And someone recently asked me, well, gosh, you're so much better off than you were when you were in this circumstance or whatever. You must be happy. Are you happy? You must be happier. And so, I thought about that and I said, wow, I'm actually just as happy. I'm just as happy with everything that's going really well for me now. In many ways, I'm just as happy as I was when things were going terrible for me, because I was focusing on what was great about now. And this is the best thing that you can do for yourself, is where you place your focus, your energy follows, and your life molds around that energy. So now, while you have this concentration of energy in your career, your work, your life purpose, what are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? And then you have the energy either in or moving into, I have chills thinking about this, Jupiter, the great expander, into your house of your biggest dreams. Don't let this wonderful time be drowned in the energy of not focusing on being happy now. Yeah, so anyway, okay, so we have all of that going on, and we also have some individual transits that are important for you to know about. We've been having this story of Venus retrograde, Venus dominating our astrological scene for a long time. Venus's pre-retrograde shadow period started at the end of June. Venus went retrograde at the end of July. Then it was retrograde from July 25th through September 6th, and then it went direct. But it takes a little bit over a month for Venus to gather its speed back. And Venus rules love, beauty, and money. So this is, these are things that are involved in everybody's everyday pretty much. So Venus has been not in full steam. So anything related to relationships, everything related to money or business things, anything related to cosmetic or self-esteem issues, things like that have all come up very, very, very strong. And so it's like, I always think of these retrogrades as when you're stopping to make a U-turn. So let's say you're going 60 miles an hour, and then you have to get the awkwardness of slowing down and getting in that lane, and then going to a complete stop, and then waiting for the traffic to come, and then turning around, and then hurrying up because all these planes, planets, cars. That's what I was looking for. These cars are whooshing by you, you know, and you're trying to get back up to that 60 miles an hour. That's what the retrogrades are like. That's what the times before the retrograde are like, and that's what the times after the retrograde are like. So that month until about October 9th is Venus in that awkward situation. It's just, it's awkward, you know? So then as of October 9th, that energy is completely clear and gone for like a year and a half, okay? Then on September 17th, we had Mercury go retrograde, and that shadow period started August 29th. So, you know, they were overlapping. I've been talking about this for many, many months. The fact that we've had a long series of personal planets being retrograde or their shadows, that hasn't been the best time to do new things. Now, it doesn't mean you don't do anything. It means that the things you do are based in the things from the past, or doing the same thing in a little bit of a better way or a different way, or reevaluating, but not like a brand new first time ever thing launched, never have any history with it, just launching. Not good for those things, but that time is coming. The end of October, like the 23rd, 24th, is the time for the little horsies who have been raring to go to just get going. Okay, but we're not quite there yet, and don't be lulled into a false sense of security with Mercury being direct on October 9th and Venus shadow period ending October 9th. You say, okay, October 10th, I'm doing everything. Don't do that. Don't do that, first of all, because Mercury retrograde is very, you know, the shadow period is very strong those couple of days after it goes direct. Second of all, we've got a series of challenging transits with Venus. Venus is like the focus of everything. We've got a square to Saturn on October 10th, and then we have an opposition to Neptune on October 16th. So it's like, I've been thinking of it like Venus is in a boxing ring and it's just like getting worked all through all these different things. But once we get into, it's the 23rd of October, she starts to prevail and everything starts to really come together as far as the lessons with the love and the beauty and the money and all these kind of things that has been the story for this long period of time. So the October 10th, Saturn and Venus brings reality checks in the areas of love, beauty, money. October 16th, and there's always days around these days, it's not just the exact days, brings confusion, chaos, or disillusionment, or deception involving love, beauty, money. Then October 23rd, we have Venus making a beautiful aspect to Pluto, which is your planet, and that's fantastic. And then October 25th, we have a conjunction with Venus and Jupiter, which is my planet, and I love Jupiter. So when Venus is in these beautiful aspects, it really expands the nature of the combinations of the energy. So things can really start to gel by that time, and by October 24th, the Mercury shadow period is finished. So that's like a pretty good time. Now, one thing to be aware of, I wish that it would be placed in a different place, you know, but on October 25th, at the same time as the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, there is a Mercury and Uranus opposition. And Mercury rules information and sharing of information, and Uranus rules these things that come out of the blue that can be jolting like an electrical shock, like you stick your finger in a socket or get hit by lightning. You know, so a lot of times the news with Uranus, when it's in a challenging aspect, isn't good, or it's uncomfortable, or it kind of jolts you in a way where you're like, I don't like that. That's happening at the same time, and it may or may not be related to the other things that are starting to fall in place or gel for you. You know, it's just something kind of happening that may or may not be related, and it might make you uncomfortable, but, you know, we'll get through it. So we have the eclipse aftermath also. Some of the news from the eclipses may still continue to be delivered, or pieces coming into place or into the picture from the eclipse news that came in. Some people will experience the eclipses. If you haven't watched the October and September reports that I made, definitely listen to them, because the eclipses are very, very powerful, and I'm not talking about them much right now in this report because there's so many other things to talk about, but you definitely want to understand the eclipses. So eclipse aftermath, some of you will have been profoundly affected by the eclipse things, for better and worse. Some of you might be the ones holding space for the people who are being profoundly affected by the eclipse pieces. So that's all happening. But overall, I think there's a lot of tremendous positive focus. And I can't see what's going on in your individual chart. That's where horoscopes just fail miserably at helping people in that way, is that you have this whole very important viewpoint of what's going on in your individual chart. You can't see that in the horoscopes. So if you'd like to have an individual session with me or one of my apprentices who are going to be graduating from my first program, and they'll start to show up on my apprentice page, which you can see soon, then you can check out my website, aspiritualspark.com. Also, while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and get the monthly write-ups that I do. There are a bunch of things I went into in the write-up for October that I'm not talking about here, and that often happens. So you'll get supplemental information about astrological happenings as part of my VIP crew on my email newsletter group. So I hope you have a wonderful October, and I'll talk to you next month.